great. Well, because a lot of your work kind of incorporates, as you said, like the textiles that have not only very charged meaning through their patterns and their imagery, but also just the fact of being textiles meant for clothes, immediately kind of codes them with all kinds of different gender and class meanings. So I specifically wanted to talk about gender because a lot of your work is kind of sexy in a very sort of like, just like there's a lot of like sensuality to them. The textures are really interesting and evocative. And there are definitely some like, physical sort of body shapes that pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, you're incorporating things like sort of construction netting, things that look kind of very stereotypically masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, obviously you've already sort of answered this question. You said that those are things that you're thinking of. But I'm curious to know, as you're working with these materials, how much those associations are kind of in the back of your mind as you're working with them, and to what extent you're just sort of playing with color and form.
Well, I think this question also relates to your first question about like being somewhere between painting and sculpture. In some ways, I think about that binary, like painting and sculpture, as I think about male and female. The sort of like, sure, there's some things that are really male and some things that are really female, but for me, the most interesting stuff is neither here nor there. It's in between, and that in betweenness has like the real potential to kind of challenge some of these false binaries, and call attention to the fact that construction, fencing looks masculine, and and that, like, let's say spandex is like my favorite sort of gender queerness sort of symbol, because it's neither male or female. It's sort of this, it's this synthetic fabric that stretches and morphs, and anything could be printed on it. Most of the time it's worn by entertainers or athletes, or people who are sort of like in the public eye. Like, the fabric is not about comfort, it's about showing off your body, and that could mean many different things for people, and I love that it has this kind of like déclassé feel, but also this kind of drag queen. It's like sexy in a kind of raunchy, inappropriate way. Like, the inappropriateness of it is like my favorite part. That it's sort of like, it never does, it doesn't behave. It doesn't really do what like fabric that we are used to making garments out does. So it's really hard to sew it. Sometimes I have fights with it in my studio, like, so it has a lot to say, and that kind of liveliness of it seems exciting to me. Like, I always feel like I'm either battling it or playing with it, or it's it's just, it does its own thing. And I think a lot of times in the studio I look for my materials to teach me something, and to open me up to something that I didn't know, or maybe something that I thought I knew but was wrong about. And spandex just continues to school me, and
Nice.